Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host Johnny and this is episode 13. Today I'm joined by Akram and Adasi, the three originals here. How are you going, guys?
Yeah, great, Johnny. Always a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to today's topics.
Yeah, man, good. Like, how you been?
Good, man. It's been a big week. Fatty's not here today. He's celebrating his birthday.
Shout out to him.
Happy birthday, Fads.
Probably about 60 years old now. A little angry man. But yes, it's a big one today. It's been a big week in football, in the football world. International friendlies, absolutely. International games.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What's your take on the games that we just experienced in the last week?
Yeah, it was you had the UEFA Nations League, the World Cup qualifiers in South America kick off. Noticing in the Nations League, Spain kind of losing to Ukraine 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
Germany drawing 3-3. So maybe there might be a shift in those two nations who have had periods of success and might have seeing a bit of a downward spiral for them.
England beating Belgium.
Yep, but then losing to Denmark.
So, oh, wow, yeah, up and down, eh?
And Malta won.
There you go.
Malta 1-0.
Yeah.
No, for me, to be honest, I mean, the international fixtures in the calendar usually are a time for me to kick back and relax and maybe put on some Netflix.
Okay, I'm quite the opposite in a lot of ways.
Why do you say that?
As much as I enjoy watching a good Premier League game, there's a lot of emotion involved and invested in the international scene, especially for South America that now just started the World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, but like for you, but like you're Argentinian, like you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
I'm not really that fussed about Lebanon who they play
or the US
yeah, exactly. Like, and so for me, it's hard to get too excited. And I've got to ask, with COVID and everything, was it really the best time to start going back to international fixtures?
I think they just kind of have to. I mean, they're trying to fit everything in and trying to get things back to normal as much as they can. And because the World Cup is 2 years from now, so they need to start now. Otherwise, if they're not going to start now, then they may as well not go ahead with the tournament.
You're spot on, man. Look, I don't know how the UEFA Nations League work, but if there's money involved, if there's sponsors involved, if there's business involved, that's one aspect.
Yeah.
The other aspect is what
Adasi
mentioned. If the Euros and the Copa America go ahead next year, you would have gone how long without knowing your teammates, without training with your teammates, the coaches, the national coaches not working with the teams. You need to start, especially in places like South America, you need to start working towards this qualifiers. There's 18 matches they need to go through to qualify for the World Cup.
True. I mean, that's a good point. You both make good points. I would say, what would you say though is your real money maker in football?
Champions League,
it's your league,
big leagues,
it's your club,
it's your club football, right?
Both for players as well. Yeah,
and I think that's for players more than anyone that I'm thinking about. I feel like in this era of a global pandemic, I would say protect what our best financial interest is, and whatever we can get away with not having, in the interest of saving lives and the interest of public safety. Maybe just limit the international tournaments even.
Well, start picking another Netflix show because in a month's time we've got another break for internationals.
Yeah, that'll be the last one.
Mid-November until March.
Yeah.
No, yeah, fair enough. But I do, look, I see your point. At what point do we just move on and start to try to figure out international football?
Yeah, it's a tough one because players themselves, a lot of them dream playing for their country and going playing in the World Cup or continental championships. So, and plus fans as well, they get very patriotic and into their.
I know, I get that, man.
But club football has so much power and money. So,
but I get that. But it's so much international travel, mixing over between different flights, different airports. I mean, look, we just had one of our biggest superstars in the game get COVID due to international football, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
is this something that's worth the risk?
Then what do you think?
All I'm asking.
Do you think maybe a bubble like the NBA style?
Well, I would assume that what you would do is table club football for a while, and then get the get the national teams into a resort bubble and then for a month before the tournaments, 2 weeks before the tournaments.
But over the last 12 months, the fixtures have been altered that much,
Yeah.
have been changed that much, it's a bit hard to sort of make everyone happy.
Yeah, like you're right. And I mean, like you said, you need to eventually figure out how you're going to do it and just do it. So, we'll see what happens, eh?
Do you think the Copa America and the Euros will go ahead next year?
Well, there's nothing to say that they're not going to go ahead. But with cases now rising again in Europe, and not sure how they're going in South America.
South America's been high.
Always been high. So I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it, but then have no fans or limit the number of fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think we figured out a bit of a system while everyone was in shutdown on how to try to have sports in a fairly safe way, which was no fans, which was certain procedures that they put in place. I think the NBA bubble does really help provide an example of what you can do for tournament-style football, for a World Cup, for a Euro, for a Copa America. So I'm leaning towards the idea that we will have it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just remember for the Euros, well, it's supposed to be this year, but next year, it's not held in one country. It's held across 12 or 13 cities. They're spreading it out across Europe. So maybe they can think about just putting it in one country.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be in a number of countries or cities if things continue the way they are now. I mean, it's October.
Then the bubble will have to be.
It's 8 months.
considered.
Look, it's 8 months away.
Yeah.
8 months ago, we weren't even talking about COVID.
Yeah.
So we have no idea what
the future will hold, eh?
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's a bit early. Now, COVID's obviously changed a lot of things for football in the last 12 months. Obviously, the big breaks in playing, the sudden stop in some leagues, the big wait for teams like Liverpool to lift the trophy, the Dutch and the French league.
Yeah.
Do you think they finished the leagues a bit prematurely in hindsight?
Well, the French league, they obviously ended theirs. PSG declared winners. I think it was just the fact that cases there were just skyrocketing to high levels, and they just didn't want to take the risk of restarting the competition. But then they caused issues in terms of Champions League spots and relegation and promotion. So maybe they should I personally think they should just cancel the season and start.
Cancel the season?
Yeah, and just call it null and void.
Yeah, but what would you do even for clubs that did get relegated?
Or qualified for the Champions League? How would you do that?
It's a tough one. It's they could just, whatever the positions were, organise like a mini tournament or mini sort of series of matches and go from there. I know it's a tough one. You got Championship, you got Champions League, Europa League, relegation.
Who was the first? Was it the French or the Dutch to call it off first?
I believe it was the French, but it wasn't as big thing. PSG winning because they thought they were going to run away with it anyway. But it was more the Dutch league because that was more tight. Yeah, in the race for their division.
No, yeah, fair enough. Look, honestly, it's always a hard one to speak about when we're talking about finances and people's people's wages and their livelihood. But I guess in those countries, people thought they needed to do what they needed to do to try to save lives, to try to limit fatality, anything like that. I suppose. So I guess when you weigh up the cost of what it could do to your population in your cities or in your countries, they felt like they didn't have much of a choice. I don't think it's really been a horrible thing for the French league or for the Dutch league. I think it's just been an unfortunate thing, but I think as we've seen with the new season beginning, it's something that was interesting. Would you put an asterisk next to those clubs winning their leagues?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
If they were given to them, it was given to them.
Yeah, that's it.
What are you going to do?
So then you just move on, eh?
Yeah. Now, with everything that's been happening, obviously with COVID, it's not the same without fans, is it?
Absolutely.
No, it's not. It's not. And I mean, that's something the sport has to have.
Do you feel like teams lose their home advantage, even though you're playing in your stadium, even though it's your home ground, that you're more familiar than the opposition is? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you still lose the home advantage because there are no fans?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I think we've seen fixtures all around Europe that have been surprising results, and I think that the lack of a home advantage has had something to do with some of those games.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at fixture. Traveling to, for example, in La Liga, away to Real Sociedad. Usually when fans, then it's packed stadium, the fans on top of you. It's a tough ground to win at. But then you play during the pandemic and there's no fans. You can hang on, there's no fans. It feels like a neutral game or a home game even.
Which makes it interesting for those putting bets out there.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of big bets win, a lot of big bets lose, just because I feel like the games are more unpredictable than ever before.
And even the players as well, they feel like it's just not the same without fans, like winning, scoring, and you want to celebrate with the people that support you, back you 100%. And then even watching, as people watching on TV, I mean, I know they're trying to dub in crowd noises and they're trying to make it more appealing on, like, get people engaged via television, but it's not the same.
Even the players won't feel the same.
Yeah, and look, honestly, as a fan, it is a hard thing to watching empty stadiums and things like that. But we're making the best out of a bad situation, aren't we?
In regards to bets, where's Fatty when you need him?
Yeah, I know.
I'd love to hear from anyone listening out there. If you have any bets during the week, and you win or you lose or any close ones, send them through. Maybe Fatty and I should start a podcast on just putting multis on.
That might not be a bad idea, mate.
Well, you two wouldn't know much about it, but
I'm not the gambler.
But Fatty and I will definitely have a good chat about it. All right, so we're talking about the last 12 months in football with COVID, with everything that happened. Were there any big transfers or any big... Obviously, financially, a lot of clubs suffered.
Yeah.
Financially, a lot of clubs cut the wages of the players, 20%, 25%, 30%, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
We still saw some movement in the window. What do you guys have to say about that? Any big names that pop out? Any big transfers that pop out?
One thing to note, for a club that spends a lot, Real Madrid, this is the first time in 40 years they did not make a single signing.
Yeah.
When was here we go. When was the last time Real Madrid went at a window without signing anyone?
40 years, 1980.
1980.
It was 40 years ago. Yeah.
Summer or winter?
The summer window.
Oh,
summer. Yeah, it was a summer.
How dare I
I read that the other day actually when the transfer. I read that the deadline finished and we didn't make a signing. Wow.
And you got rid of Bale
and James and a few others, and on loan as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
But the big one was, like for us at least, was I think letting go of Gareth Bale. I think letting him move on was
half his wages
gone. I mean, what was he on? 17 million euros a year or something?
Something ridiculous.
So Bale leaving Real was one. Pjanic and Arthur
to Barcelona.
Swap to Barcelona from Juventus.
Vidal leaving Barca for Inter was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Suarez was a massive one.
Yeah.
Suarez was a big one.
Yeah.
Mainly because he wasn't replaced.
No, he really wasn't, was he?
No. Well, Coutinho came back from his loan.
He did. Would you argue the different positions though?
And did they make an attempt to sign Memphis Depay?
They did. Yeah.
They didn't. They were linked to Depay and they were linked to Martinez from Inter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Like I think Barcelona are really have set their eye on Lautaro Martinez for a while, and I think they will continue to try to get him.
But they have no depth right now.
No. Look, honestly, they don't have much depth. I don't feel like from a team building standpoint they don't have much direction. And I found that, like, unfortunately with Luis Suarez, right? And look, we're talking about someone who doesn't really like Barcelona a whole lot, but I thought it was really disappointing the manner in which they conducted their business in this window. Like the way Suarez was let go, probably, what would you say, like top 2 forward for them of the last decade?
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever?
Top 5 ever.
Top 5
when you look,
ever,
when you look at stats,
5.
when you look at importance, when you look at and
treble winner as well.
And the way they let him go, I thought was really poor.
Well, Suarez and Messi both agree with you if you saw their Insta posts.
And Dani Alves too.
Where they hammered in Neymar, where they hammered the club for the way that Suarez left.
It was quite disappointing to see.
But the fact that he wasn't replaced, the fact that he was just pushed out because he ended up at he was meant to go to Juve.
Yeah, that's
ended
right.
up at Atletico. There was a rumor of him cheating on his.
Yes, you beat me to it here in his Italian citizenship exam. I don't know if that's true, but man,
you gotta love it.
But another in terms of transfer windows, one club that really went out, Chelsea.
Yeah,
and
they just came from
a transfer ban.
So
and they splashed out on guys like Werner, Hakim Ziyech, and Kai Havertz as well. Yeah.
Thiago Silva.
Yes, Thiago Silva, another one.
Mendy, the goalkeeper.
Yep, that's right. So So now, because of that, and they did quite well last, like the 2019-2020 season with what they had, and Lampard was praised for that, for how he nurtured youngsters like Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, and Hudson-Odoi. Now with this, now they've spent the money on some quality players. If he doesn't have that same success, his job's going to probably be on the line.
Do we know what the biggest window
Ever?
No, they're the biggest sale this window.
Would it have been Havertz?
I'm not sure.
That was up there. That was quite.
Was it like 70?
Yeah.
70
Look,
million
we're not expecting a big spending.
No, I mean, look, a lot of clubs
actually,
didn't.
The report came out. The English clubs still spent quite a fair bit of money, even during the pandemic. So, and actually talking about like why are they still doing that? You know, and given that there's some clubs that have had to fold in the lower leagues in England.
Yeah, but don't forget the Premier League money is different. You're talking different. You're talking
Compared
TV
to
rights.
different leagues.
You're
You're
talking,
talking the Premier League is a different story.
yeah, like TV rights for the Premier League are massive in itself.
Yeah.
I think the promotion to the Championship, from Championship to Premier League, is one of the biggest jumps in money in football.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about Chelsea just now, and the all these major signings that they brought in after having this surge of youth talent. Coached with a real young and up and coming coach in Frank Lampard. Was it? No, it's not his first ever coaching job, but it's his first ever Premier League.
He was at Derby.
Yeah. So would you say, like, did you, and maybe Johnny, you would know more about this than we would, would you consider it a bit of a mistake to start splashing the cash on all these kind of players? Was there a sense of randomness to some of these player signings?
I don't think so. I think it was planned, and it's a lose-lose situation. If you don't spend the money and stick to the youngsters and don't do well, why when you've got the money there? And if you do buy the players and don't do well, why when you've got when you've been using the youngsters?
True,
so,
but just
you might as well reinforce your team.
It's more like they were just itching to just get back in there and just make some signings.
Where do you see Havertz playing, and where has he been playing since the beginning of the new season? Well, he's a more of an attacking midfielder. He can play right wing
behind the striker. He's been playing.
So he's playing in his position.
Yeah.
And would you say is it a one striker formation?
Pretty much depends.
They've got Pulisic and Ziyech coming back from injury now.
Pulisic, Ziyech, Timo Werner.
It's a strong team.
And then Tammy Abraham, like.
So look, in what you're saying before, the difference between last year and this year is the expectation and the pressure that this team has to perform after spending so much money.
Yeah.
But there is something that that we spoke about, that we touched on before, and that was Barcelona.
Yeah.
Now, in the last 6 months or so, the Messi saga.
Yeah. Yeah, got to say, guys, that was crazy, wasn't it?
It was, and I think he didn't leave, but just his speculation about him going was the most tweeted topic, I think, in the world. Like,
now, let me jump in here.
It's just crazy, the stories that came out about.
Let me jump in with a few things, because he didn't leave, not because he wanted to stay. He didn't leave because he was forced to stay. So in his contract there was a clause, and then there's people on both sides. I love when the Ronaldo bandwagons jump in and start smashing Messi. You've got a contract, you've got to stick to it. Now the contract that he had a clause in it where he was allowed to leave after the season finished.
Yeah.
Now because of COVID,
it's
that no one was expecting to happen 3 years ago.
The
date of the contract was he had until I think mid-June or early June. The 10th of June or whatever the date was, for him to say, I'm either staying or leaving. I'm sticking 1 more year in my contract, or I'm executing the clause and leaving. COVID happened.
And so you're saying because the season was still going?
So Barca, he told Barca, he's been telling the president for months, saying, I'm leaving. Season finished, he goes, okay, this is the end. Thanks for everything. He made it public. He sent him a legal letter. And the president said, the president held on to the small writing saying, the contract says 10th of June. If you leave, I'm suing you.
Wow.
So the last thing he wanted
was
to go to court with Barcelona. Yeah. So as much as he wanted to leave, he didn't want to leave in that way. Therefore, he decided to stay because to avoid a legal matter, to avoid a legal battle, but not because he wanted to stay. Where would he end up? Look, people saying Man City.
Yeah.
That seems like the most likely
and most logical choice.
Inter would have been an option.
Sorry, explain to me why the most logical, apart from the Guardiola factor.
That would be probably the most logical choice, and the fact that they play in a system that he would be very comfortable with.
They could afford his wages too.
I think that it's a club that could afford his wages, afford the transfer fee. When you talk about these elite players, it starts to shrink the market regarding people who could afford, regarding clubs who could afford players like that. So there's probably not that many clubs besides Real Madrid, Man City, and PSG that could truly afford Messi's transfer fee and wages.
I would have loved to see him at Inter.
Yeah. Why do you say that? Is it because of the Martinez factor, or is it more than that?
No, it's more in regards to a couple of factors. One, bring the Ronaldo versus Messi thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two, strengthen the Serie A again.
Yeah.
So a bit nostalgic in me coming in and saying, let's go back to the 90s where Serie A was king. Let's give Premier League a bit of competition. Let's lift another.
I think if Messi signed for Inter, it'd be like the equivalent of Ronaldo R9 signing for Inter back in the 90s, had the big name.
You mean that would be probably the biggest name since R9?
And I think the Serie A might suit more to Messi's slower style of football.
Compared to Premier League?
Premier League, I think he'll be eaten alive.
Oh, wow.
Too rough, you mean? Or is it just...
I feel like there's less space to play around with. I feel like it's much more fast-paced. At this stage of his career...
He's not getting younger.
Only at this stage of his career. You talk about 5 years ago, or 6, 7, 8 years ago, Messi could have played any way he wanted to Antarctica by himself, and he would have killed the Penguins.
And I think you made a point. I think you watch him these last year or so, especially 2020, and his acceleration has slowed a bit. He's not the same explosive player as he was before. He's still skillful and like a magician.
The thing with Messi is people don't give him enough credit on how smart he is, because he doesn't do the kilometers. He doesn't run every day all day. But if you just watch him, he walks in a smart way where he creates his own spaces. And I think that's why Serie A might be more suitable to him in that regards than Premier League, when you got people who are non-stop running.
Yeah.
So you guys you guys mentioned that you feel like his explosiveness is not what it was.
I didn't say that. That's
said. But you've also said that you don't think he was the player that he was 5-6 years ago in terms of playing the Premier League. So it begs the question, why now has he chosen that he would like to leave Barcelona? Does anyone know what was it that really made him decide it's time to move on?
I think I'm not inside the club, but from what I read in that,
we're all thinking from outside. We're just kind of speculating, having a chat.
From what I've read, like there's so much things that are going on about the club. It's too much problems on the board level, through to the squad, and
so you think it was more internal conflict and politics in the club rather than from a competitive point of view?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe he's just not happy with where the club is heading in the long term, and he just doesn't see a future there anymore. And it's just showing like past 2 coaches have come and gone. Valverde, was made a scapegoat, and then Quique Setien as well, same thing. And now Ronald Koeman's got a big job on his hand to get this squad together.
And do you think he's just more of the same in terms of just another scapegoat? Not a whole lot of vision in that coaching position?
Messi did mention a few times about there's no project.
Yes,
he did mention there's no football project, there's no long-term project. You're just going through, like, the club's going through the motions.
Yeah.
Now, there's the whole argument, big picture, all right? That's a small picture. Big picture, to me, Messi is a creature of habit.
Okay.
All right? He even said in his interview that when he told his wife and kids they were leaving Barcelona, everyone started crying, big chaos at his house.
Wow.
He's a creature of comfort in that regards. Like, he grew up since he was 12 years old in Barcelona. His family are pretty much from there. Kids are from there. So to disturb that for him is a massive thing.
It would be.
That's what people like. When people challenge the whole thing about, Cristiano likes challenges. He challenged himself in different leagues.
Yeah.
Messi did it in Barca. It's not a simple argument as just dropping that.
Yeah.
Cristiano's got different goals. Where Messi values that family life much. I don't know much more because I don't know Cristiano personally.
Yeah.
Messi, I'm best friends with him. He messages me every day. But yeah, you can tell that Messi values that life. Now, he was comfortable at Barcelona. It was his home. I don't know how long this president's been in power for, but it's obvious that he's been falling out with him for a fair few.
Plus, there are elections as well coming up at the club, and the president is under pressure to...
He's leaving. It's obvious that
he doesn't want to be the one that...
sells
Messi.
Too late. He's going to let go of Messi.
He's going to be leaving anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a big factor as well.
Fair enough.
who knows if Messi would have left earlier if we didn't have such a big loyalty or such connection to the club in the area.
And to the city, yeah.
So I read that in 2014, he, funnily enough, Chelsea were very closely linked with him, and he had a FaceTime or a couple of FaceTime conversations with Mourinho.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 2014 to go to Chelsea, and the reason why it didn't go ahead is because his dad stepped in and said, no, it's not the right move.
Wow.
So funny enough, I'm saying funny enough because Mourinho came from Real Madrid, went to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And
but yeah, Messi's father did step in for these negotiations with Barcelona board.
His agent.
Yeah. And did said that he didn't make it quite clear that he was going to stay, and then eventually he stayed.
Look, Man City makes perfect sense. Aguero is his best mate, or one of his best mates.
Yeah.
Guardiola is very comfortable. Coach is comfortable.
Aguero would have probably gotten a good word for him too about Man City.
Try to convince him to come, you mean? Yeah. I don't think anyone needs to put a good word about Messi coming across.
No, I'm saying like Aguero, Argentinian best friends, and
look, I get that.
There.
And from what I'm hearing, I don't know, he was close to Man City.
Yeah, I suppose so. And like I said, that was the most logical move. You mentioned that you would have liked to have seen him in Inter. I agree. That would have been fantastic to see. I could see the value there, like you said, from a style point of view, but also a place in that formation. I did have questions with his with the relationship with Conte, but at the same time, I still would have preferred that. I wouldn't want to see him go to Man City because I don't know about you guys, but I just always feel that Man City has that air of an artificial club that's been artificially manufactured due to instant cash.
Yeah, I mean, they're the club with that no one can compete with in terms of wages, I believe. I don't even Real Madrid could probably compete with them.
Wow, yeah.
But it's the owners the Abu Dhabi owners have a lot of money up their sleeve to splash out. But in terms of Messi, like he means like next year he'll leave on a free.
Wow,
is that right?
That's what surprised me the most. Wouldn't you rather get 100 million, 120 million from Messi now? Then let him go to June next year and get it and release him for free and get nothing out of it.
True, but does it have to be a question then of some form of marketing side that you feel like one more year of him, you'll make more money than that 100 million?
At this stage of his career, I don't think so because he's been there for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think.
You think the commercial aspects are limited compared to 100 million?
I don't know what numbers we're playing with.
Yeah, exactly. We're kind of speculating.
And I don't know how much Barcelona is risking from Nike, from other big competitors, other big names, if Messi leaves. But I would rather get the 100 to negotiate 150, 120 million dollars to release Messi now than wait 8 months, 9 months, and he goes for free.
But, that's a good point. And I mean, obviously, it makes a lot of sense. Like, why did they do that? From that point of view, either way, it was really disappointing to see the manner in which some of this has been conducted. It goes back to the conversation we had a few weeks ago about player loyalty. Like for any player, and this goes to everyone listening and for each other. For any player that leaves your club and you feel a somewhat sense of betrayal, look at this situation here. Luis Suarez, Johnny just called him perhaps a top 5 player in Barcelona's history. Messi, probably the number 1 player in Barcelona's history.
Or the world
If you can be treated the way they were treated, why should any player ever have loyalty to a club ever again?
And then just when the day comes that Messi goes next year for free, you just wonder about the state of that club. Where they go to. They've relied on him so much. They've put a lot of their eggs in one basket.
I thought about this. When are the elections for Barcelona?
I think March.
Okay, if the president changes,
is
there a chance that he'll stay?
There'll be a new big contract coming his way. Yeah.
I'm not now with the change of precedent in March that I'm anticipating.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna sign my life away that he's leaving.
I've got to say I hadn't considered that up until now, just because I thought, all right, this is done and dusted. Like, how can you come out and criticize the club in such a way and feel like do a backflip? But I see where you're coming from, especially if the relationship that is the most toxic is one between player and president. I feel like, though, any president that comes in would need to convince him on some kind of project and plan what they're going to do next. And how are they going to allow him to compete for the highest trophies for Ballon d'Ors as he continues to age? Because I think that has to be the question he asks himself and he asks any club that he signs with, Barcelona or anyone.
So looking back at the last 12 months, let's go back to that. And we spoke about Man City. Let's touch on the Premier League.
Okay.
I know we touched on Chelsea. Solskjaer tried something similar with Man United, promoting youth.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like expectations are a bit lower on him because he didn't make such big signings, such big spendings.
In this past transfer window?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, did you find that, would you consider this transfer window for Man United a bit of a failure?
Well, yeah, man, let go of...
Can I tell you that in 9 months?
I mean, you're like, I feel like that's an easy way of getting out of it, Johnny, mate.
Look, I agree with you. I feel like they could have done better. I feel like they could have reinforced some areas, especially the back line.
Well, like Bruno Fernandes signing, that
wasn't this window, but...
No, window, it was this year, but it was previous
that wasn't this window.
Yeah.
Donny van der Beek, look, honestly, looks like a really good player.
They signed the 18-year-old kid from Uruguay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you remember his name?
No.
So then I guess it's not that big a deal with this guy. Sorry, mate, you got to be a bit better.
They've got issues at the back with Harry Maguire, man. He's a
How much did they sign him for?
80 million.
80 million for
Leicester's
this guy.
laughing all the way to the bank.
You got to say. And do you remember, like, last year, the president of Napoli said, well, if Harry Maguire's 80 million, Koulibaly's, 120?
Yeah.
And everyone laughed at him going, man, you're crazy.
Do you know who's having a party?
Who?
Arsenal.
Why is that?
Who did they sign?
I have no idea where you're going with, Johnny.
Partey.
Yes,
I apologise for that terrible joke,
I
guys.
should have picked on that one.
Should you have? I feel like that says something about you if you could have picked up on
So
that.
Arsenal's having a party.
Don't do that.
Torreira's gone.
Yeah, he went to Atletico Madrid.
Loan, yeah.
That's a bit of a weird change up.
Yeah, I mean, Partey is a very physical player.
But they kept Ceballos on the loan again, another year.
And who did Tottenham sign as a fullback?
Sergio Reguilon from
That's a
Real
good-
Madrid.
that's a good
very good
pickup.
signing. Someone I rate very highly who deserved to be a left back for Real Madrid, but it was either him or Ferland Mendy, and both are really good. But Mendy just shades it.
Speaking of the Premier League, what do we take on Liverpool's title this year?
I mean, it's about time, isn't it? Like, good on for you guys.
30 years.
30 years.
Look, it's just on the quiet. I was hoping that COVID kept on cancelling their season, and no one was a champion.
That would have been hilarious, just for the meltdowns online, man.
That would have been hilarious.
But
in saying that, they deserved it.
Yeah, and I feel like Klopp deserved it, and he deserves a lot of the praise. Like, I feel like this guy's been one of the best coaches for years, even before he went to Liverpool. So I feel, but it was just one of those things where coaching for smaller clubs like Dortmund gives you less opportunity to market your name and your face out there. So that we didn't even know a whole lot about this guy, and then he makes his mark with Dortmund, then gets to Liverpool. I feel like this was a crowning achievement of his career. That, and of course the European Cup the year before. I think it was very satisfying to see a club that hasn't won the Premier League for 30 years. Yeah. Like, it has to be said. Man United, Man City, Chelsea. It's not that much different to La Liga, really, mate. So
here we go again with this argument.
All I'm saying is like, the rich clubs are stay rich. Liverpool haven't managed to win, so
you didn't mention Leicester, funny enough.
Oh yeah, the one club in the last 1,000 years that no one would have expected to win.
But Liverpool fully deserved. But pre-COVID, they were red hot, winning every single game, or undefeated until that loss to Watford in early March. But then COVID hit, and it was just a matter of when, not if, though. And then just after the break, resumed. They came back and won it.
What I found very, very interesting about Liverpool's season and the way this Liverpool team's progressed is, a few years ago, Mohamed Salah was the obvious talisman of that club, the best attacking player. Virgil van Dijk, best defender that they got. Everyone knows about Van Dijk. But I feel like this past season or so has really shown Sadio Mane to really step up to perhaps be the better player. I think he's shown a lot more diversity in his game, a lot more growth, a lot more ability, and it's been really exciting to see.
Yeah.
Speaking of Liverpool, the Ballon d'Or wasn't given this year. I thought Van Dijk. That's my connection. Sorry, I'm having conversations with myself here. And
Have conversations with us, mate.
And you guys are joining halfway. The Ballon d'Or wasn't given this year.
Yeah,
Keep
true.
that thought in the back of your head.
Okay.
Before the end of the show, here at Football Retro, we will give out the 2020 Ballon d'Or. How does that sound?
I like it. I like
If
it.
the French football magazine's not going to do it, we're going to do our own.
Football Retro Ballon d'Or.
Isn't there a cash prize for the Ballon d'Or winner? How much money do you have in your pockets, mate?
Mate, I've got JD and Coke next to me here.
Bottle of water.
Oh, there is. No, fair enough, mate. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. I'll probably forget in a few minutes, to be honest. Though.
So, you mentioned something before about, we spoke about the French and the Dutch league in regards to, is there an asterisk next to the league for winning it? Same thing has been mentioned about the Premier League and the way that it was won. How about the Champions League? In the bubble, no fans, quick games, one game instead of two legs. What are you taking of that?
Darcy, why don't you go first, mate? I've got to collect my thoughts.
No, you're right. I definitely put an asterisk because it was different. It starts usually in September and then it stopped in February, March, and then came back in September the year after and finished in October. Was it? No, September, August. Yeah,
it started in August.
So 1 year to finish, and it was different. Like, there was some good matches, quality matches in that time from the time it came back in Portugal when they played. But yeah, like I said, like one-off games are different to two-legged ties. So, and people need to know that. It was one. It's usually a two-legged ties in the second round, quarters, semi-final, but these ones are one-legged matches, sudden death, and different type of football. You're not playing as defensive. You're taking more risks, I think. So yeah, definitely it needs to be noted. In the history books of that particular season.
Well, Akram's still thinking that it's a rare thing for it to happen, but I don't think anyone's questioning Bayern Munich as a champion. I think they're a very deserved champion.
Yeah, they really blitzed through the whole season, like especially since Hansi Flick took over. They were started the season poorly, and they sacked their coach Niko Kovac, and then Hansi Flick was the assistant, came in, and he went undefeated since he started, and then the way they were smashing teams, and then particularly the 8-2 over Barcelona in the quarters.
For anyone that can't, or obviously everyone that can't see here, Akram's face right now while he's thinking is a bit like Russell Crowe in The Beautiful Mind when he's next to the window, trying to work out physics equation next to the window.
Trying to find the answer, mate.
That's Akram's face right now while he's thinking.
Yeah, I'm torn in two, mate, because I've got to tell you, I can see both sides of it. I kind of like give him an asterisk, but I kind of not. I mean, what Darcy's saying makes total sense. There was plenty of advantages for clubs that won and progressed, not having two legs and all that. But at the same time, there were disadvantages. There were the added stress of COVID. There was the fact that you hadn't played for months. There was the fact that you were in a bubble. No fans. A lot of those things would factor in from a mental aspect as disadvantages. I don't think players in Bayern Munich would appreciate an asterisk because I think those last few games would have been really, really hard for him. So I'm kind of to be honest, leaning on the side of giving it to him as a full-fledged equal Champions League compared to other seasons. I don't see why not, to be honest. Yes and no. What do you reckon, Johnny? What would you be your final?
I say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said. If Leipzig was to win it or anyone else, you would think twice about it. Mm-hmm. But I think Bayern Munich deserved it, and I don't think anyone's questioning that.
I think based on this, they absolutely did, and based on the season they had domestically, like they blitzed through Bundesliga and they won the German Cup as well, and just the way they played the football was so efficient. The attack was unbelievable. Was it Muller, Lewandowski, Gnabry up front? Unbelievable.
The excitement that the one game brought in the semis, do you think?
Did you like that, Johnny?
I'm not saying I liked it. I'm saying the excitement that it brought.
Yeah.
Do you think we might see a change in the future or not?
I mean, to be honest, I think the excitement was definitely worth it. I think there was a value there. I think, though, that football does love its history and does love its traditions and systems, I don't think clubs would appreciate a one leg draw.
And the thing is, where would you play it? Where would you play that game?
Mate, you can make arguments of like higher
Neutrality.
seeded teams, things like that.
Or neutral. Or...
You can make.
But then again,
there are ways around it.
Sorry, I forgot about one thing. FIFA equals business.
Yeah,
And 2 games is more money than 1.
that's right. And I think clubs would prefer the 2 legs because I could see the big clubs chucking a hissy fit because they would like 2 bites of the apple. A second chance to try to make up for the first game that they might lose.
But then again, not this Champions League, but the one before, we had the whole drama about Tottenham Ajax, the last minute or 2, and Lucas Moura got those goals. So that drama still exists.
Yeah.
And I think it was the quarters where Tottenham and City, something similar happened.
Yeah, the Raheem Sterling scoring in the end, they thought they won the match, they thought they won the tie, and then VAR intervened, they cancelled the goal, and Guardiola on his knees couldn't believe it.
So that excitement still exists. Now,
It still exists, mate. Yeah.
with this discussion, with everything we've seen in the last 7 or 8 months, do you think anything that's been happening in COVID will remain in football long term?
I think one of the things, like these are little things you'll see, is that, when just they're trying to maintain protocol and social distancing, that might still stay in place. Things like not shaking hands before the game.
So do you think that's gone for
Forever? Or
For now, it will be. I don't know for how long, but for now, I can see, even though it doesn't make sense given that they're on the field in contact with each other and they're hugging each other as well after the game. So
that's like in rugby league in the NRL.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was early this season. There was no shaking hands allowed after the game.
Yeah.
They just tackled each other
They
and
just,
all over each other. And
Yeah.
Some ridiculous PR.
Yeah.
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 Honestly, I don't think there will be too many long-term things. I'm not sure. What do you think, Johnny? For me, would you think? Do you think people will still be wearing masks long after the pandemic's over?
I don't think so. I think we'll look back 5 years from now. I don't know how long this is going to take.
Yeah, for 5-10 years, whatever
I
time
don't
frame.
know how long these protocols are going to be in place for.
But you're saying whatever time frame, you're saying we'll look back at it as
the COVID year or years.
Yeah.
Well, one thing came to mind, maybe things like transfer fees and player wages will be impacted because of COVID and the pandemic, given that clubs are going to lose money financially,
but then again,
revenue.
let me put something out there, just if you agree. Do you think what COVID did was allow a correction in the market when it comes to transfers as well? Because what the Neymar transfer did was put ridiculous prices on players.
100%.
Like let's put example like the housing market. If the housing market raises 30%, and you're paying $900K for a house, it's not worth that. Then a correction needs to happen in the market. When it comes to players, Neymar, how much was Neymar going for? 200 something.
Yeah.
So he's not worth 220.
230.
Right, but PSG just wanted that marketing, that marquee player, try to win a Champions League, try to have that superstar.
Yeah.
Because of that transfer, clubs are saying, hold on, if Neymar's worth 220, my player that was yesterday worth 5 million is now worth 15.
It automatically just inflates.
So it was a massive knock-on effect. I mean, after Neymar, Barcelona needed to replace players. From a PR perspective, they needed to look like they were doing something about it. And from a technical perspective, they needed to replenish the squad. But everyone knew Barcelona were flush with this 220 cash, so no one was giving them any discounts, were they? I mean, Coutinho was, 150?
Yeah.
Dembele was
120. Griezmann had a fair bit.
Yeah, no, but we're talking about right after Neymar does. It was 150, 120. So then those knock-on effects continued around the rest of Europe for that transfer window and beyond.
Well, Coutinho, I think initially the initial negotiations were 90 million.
Yeah.
After Neymar was sold, it became 150.
So no one was willing to deal with Barcelona until they were willing to match the same kind of increase, right?
Yeah.
I find it interesting what you're saying. However, at the same time, is it a correction if it continues? So let's say this past season in which football was so financially challenged by COVID, if this continues and COVID still reaps havoc on the finances of some of these large football clubs, does it become more than a correction? Does it become literally like some kind of football recession?
Time will tell. I think that the game depends which area. I mean, obviously the Premier League is very different to, I don't know, the Chilean league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it depends which area. Australia's suffering.
Yeah.
The A League is suffering big time.
Yeah.
So you can't compare the Premier League to the A League.
So every league is their own.
The lower divisions in
market.
England and other countries as well, they're struggling as well.
Yeah, speaking of Australia alone, you've got a lot of NPL clubs that are depending on leagues clubs, like on pokies, to pay the players.
Yeah.
That money's not coming in. It's all like
Every league is their own little market.
100%.
And everyone has their own health and unhealthy trends. I would like to see what happens next summer.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like from our club's perspective, I know Real Madrid has big plans in the transfer market. I know they're gunning towards big goals, and that's why they've been stingy this past transfer market. COVID helped, of course, helped encourage them not to spend any money. But we all know that they're really targeting Mbappe as soon as possible.
Yeah, but as well, Real Madrid's one of the few clubs that's done quite well in the pandemic, where one of their players voluntarily decided to take pay cuts. It's not the club told them to, and plus they've accelerated their plans to renovate the Bernabeu Stadium.
100%. But at the same time, they have been stingy. There's been a downward trend of Real Madrid's transfer budget every year for the last several years. I think James Rodriguez was the last time they really did a massive spend.
Yeah.
Eden Hazard notwithstanding,
year,
of course, that was that massive one that they bring back.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting, they're saving their money because they really want to market Mbappe for the player of the next decade for Real Madrid.
Even Haaland maybe.
Or even both.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Real Madrid for you.
Yeah. They're the two young prospects, I think, in the world.
I found that I thought AC Milan also had a real interesting transfer period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really interesting window in terms of bringing players in.
Yeah.
They didn't go crazy with the transfer funds, but they were able to keep Zlatan Ibrahimovic for one more season. I think that does a lot for them from a technical aspect.
Marketing as well.
Morale,
man. The dressing room, an alpha leader that they needed, someone who just feels like a winner. Even though Ibrahimovic from his career is not exactly the biggest winner that we have around in football's elite, but he certainly believes himself to be. So that really will help AC Milan. I think they got a massive transfer coup when they signed Sandro Tonali from Brescia. Everyone's been after this guy in Italy.
And Brahim Diaz as well.
Well, yeah, Brahim Diaz on loan. But you got to remember, Italian clubs love their Italian players.
Yeah.
I'm sure Juve were shitting themselves when they lost Sandro Tonali. Inter lost him as well. So that really was a massive coup for AC Milan. I would love to see, and they are going to be in the Europa League this year.
Yeah.
First time in years. Last year they qualified for it because of financial fair play rules. They were disqualified. So I can't wait to see what they do this season.
Yeah.
In the last 12 months, are there any matches or any goals that stand out for you guys? It's a big question. It's a lot of matches, and it all blurs into one.
Yeah, it's
any last-minute winners, any last-minute drama that you can think of?
Well, the big match that stood out was a big shock. Not a shock. It just didn't expect it. Was Bayern Munich's 8-2 win over Barcelona in the quarters. I thought Bayern going into the game were favourites. I had that feeling that maybe Barcelona could do it with the Messi factor and he could pull some magic. Yeah. But man, the way that Bayern Munich destroyed Barcelona was.
Honestly, I would say that's a shock.
It's a shock. It's a complete shock. In saying that, in hindsight now,
shock not knowing who won, but just the result.
But knowing how strong Bayern are,
he
ended up being champions, and knowing what was happening in house at Barcelona, it makes a little bit of sense now.
Yeah.
But in the moment, watching, it's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Like after the fact, all the stories come out. You can see how strong Bayern really were. You see the issues in Barcelona. I totally with you there. Is it a big of a shock? I still think though 8-2. I don't think there's any excuse for a result like that.
No, I agree. It's a big shock.
I'm still shocked.
Let me
talking
ask you
about
this.
it now.
Let's put a vote out on this. I like votes.
Sure.
What's the bigger shock? What's the bigger embarrassment? What's the bigger disappointment? Bayern Munich Barcelona 8-2, or Brazil Germany 7-1 at home semi-final World Cup?
Oh, Brazil Germany 7-1.
Yeah, it's got to be, mate.
3-0 Brazil. 3-0. Yeah. Cupping 7 in your own backyard in the World Cup. Ouch.
I feel like you had a different agenda there, Johnny, when you wanted to bring that vote out.
No, because I saw this discussion somewhere else on social media, and I wanted to see what the table thought.
No, fair enough.
That was bloody embarrassing. I knew I know, off topic, but I remember just that game and the Brazilian players in the national anthem holding a Neymar shirt in tears. Like, you knew they were going to lose the game. Come on, guys. The guy's not dead.
So you mentioned that young striker that Real want, the blondie.
Erling Haaland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the first one that comes to mind when we talk about revelation in the last 12 months
Yep.
Yeah.
when it comes to football.
Mm-hmm.
The players that stood out that came out of, I wouldn't say nowhere because he's still young, but who else would come to mind to that stature? The revelations of the last 12 months.
There's a few that come to mind. Ansu Fati.
Yeah, I was going to ask, was that the last 12 months?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
only 16.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
Came towards the end.
Just
12
like,
months
was
ago,
it- was
Ansu
it-
Fati had no pubes. Like,
That was definitely a
Learning how to
revelation.
drive.
That's what I mean when it comes to Barcelona and their plan. When they start to realize, oh wait, we got this young gem over here. I didn't see any attempt to then bring him in, build the club around what they could do, bring in extra young players to match the age of this guy. I find it really, really interesting what they're doing over there.
I'm excited to see what Ansu Fati does, what Haaland does.
I have Vinicius Junior, his development as well at Real
Yeah,
Madrid.
but you're mentioning...
Yeah, no, but would you consider that? I wouldn't consider that a revelation.
Not a
exactly.
revelation, because
He
Vinicius-
did sign for 50 million euros. Like he was very hyped.
To me, Valverde's more of a revelation than...
Yeah, 100%. Like I mean, everyone was looking at him, and I mean, I remember fans wanted Ceballos back over Valverde. People didn't understand what Zidane's issues were.
Valverde, that's Valverde's spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. He's a starter.
yeah. But I didn't understand. Everyone wanted Ceballos back because people didn't understand Zidane's relationship with Ceballos. They thought maybe it was personal. I think even Ceballos thought maybe there was a personal issue there.
Yeah.
But I think Zidane was proven right that like this guy is obviously a talent, and he like Adasi just said, it's his spot.
So over the last 12 months, I was watching some highlights of goals. I think Messi cemented his spot as one of the best free kick takers in history.
Mm-hmm.
Just-
You
just
got to
keep
you got to
scoring
say
them.
that
Yeah.
absolutely.
I saw a goal by Ramos at a free kick.
Yeah, he did.
Ramos does it all,
score
Johnny.
yes, he scored one in the game. He does a lot of them in training as well. He scores a fair few beautiful ones too. So
Yeah.
he pops up with penalties, free kicks, headers.
He does it all, man.
He's actually just passed just 174 international caps, and he's 10 away from the all-time record. Unbelievable.
What a machine.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable player.
What a gun and what a grab.
We're really gonna miss him.
Sorry,
as well.
I have to say, it kind of makes me laugh when, no disrespect to Van Dijk, but when they compare Van Dijk to Ramos.
No.
Please, guys.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Give him 10 years, and then we'll be able to
Yeah.
judge fairly. I don't think he'll reach Ramos'
Achievements.
left ankle.
Achievements.
Yeah.
Achievements, yeah.
Anyways, in regards to team revelations, the one that comes to mind the most is Atalanta.
Yeah, like I mean, honestly, if you followed Serie A for the last few years, you would see that Atalanta has been a strong team for a number of years. Gasparini's been a top coach there. He plays a real high energy style of football, presses really high. They had a great player there in the center of midfield there
Gomez.
for a while. No, Alejandro Gomez is that a real creative player, but they had a few players in the midfield that.
Ilicic?
No. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they played a real great pressing style, and then you had Alejandro Gomez who just plays fantastic with the attack, linking them up, moving them around.
Let me ask you this, though. Like, for Coach of the Year, I think there were 3 nominations. The Bayern Munich one, Klopp,
Yeah.
and there was one more. I can't remember who it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we spoke about it last week when we spoke about coaches,
Mm-hmm.
but how can you not name Atalanta's coach as one of the best, or nominate him up there as one of the best with everything he's done? You don't have to win trophies in order to be one of the best coaches.
No, I agree. I
Yeah.
think that we need to do a better job. And when I say we, I mean like the football world, of appreciating players, clubs, and managers who perform under differing expectations, transfer budgets, etc. I think clubs like Atalanta, Napoli a few years ago, where they played fantastic football, come in second by like a point. I think deserves a lot more recognition than when we give them.
Yeah, I think you got to take that into account. Plus the resources they have, the budgets that they have, and what they achieve with what they got. And definitely needs to consider that as a great achievement. Atalanta was so close to making the semis of the Champions League. They were leading at PSG 1-0, and then PSG's star power just came through in the end. But it just goes to show, and hopefully this stuff you'd see more of from them as well, and from other clubs.
The time has come. We are giving out
the main event.
The Ballon d'Or Football Retro podcast style.
Do you want to get the trophy out of the cupboard?
It's got a few spider webs in it if you're talking about one of mine. Okay, so obviously the trophy wasn't given this year.
Yep.
So it was cancelled, right, Darcy?
Yes, that's right. They decided not to give it, which was strange, given that, yes, there was a pandemic and the football was off for like 3 months, but still there was football played, and there's some players that stood out throughout the year.
And the majority of seasons are finished, completed.
Yeah.
So it makes it a bit silly to not to. I don't know exactly why. Maybe they thought it was unfair to judge people in a season like this, but anyways, who would be your top 3 candidates for?
Top 3?
Ballon d'Or. You have top 2, top 3. Who would you have?
Yeah.
Darcy, do you have anyone that comes to mind?
I would have top 2. I would have one of them, Karim Benzema. He had a great year.
Top 2, wow.
Yeah, he had a great season.
Yeah, nothing biased about that.
But maybe a bit of bias, but to see the way he played, the amount of goals he scored, the way he carried Real through to in La Liga, and the way he's carried the team past 2 years, this year did really well, and it showed that he can play well without Ronaldo, Cristiano, post Ronaldo era.
Yeah, look, I have to agree with Darcy a little there. Look, I would give him top 5, maybe even top 3. I'll maybe place him 3rd because of the fact that
but he's not number 1. Yeah.
Real Madrid did need a leader to go forward to win La Liga under these circumstances. I do think that he was someone that they could rally around. Top 2, I don't know, Darcy. That's a bit.
He's my 2nd, but he's not number 1, obviously. So.
Okay, do you have a 3rd?
I'd say Van Dijk.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He had a good year with Liverpool. Key to their.
So are you giving the countdown already, or you?
Yeah, 3 and 2, but yeah, I'll leave number 1 at the end.
All right. Okay.
I'll probably flip it around. I'd probably say number 3, Karim Benzema, number 2, Van Dijk. I think that Van Dijk has inspired a lot within that club, and that back line has always been a bit shaky. Not saying it is even that fantastic right now, besides just what he does. But I do feel like he definitely deserves a lot of credit for turning that club into, a winning mentality club. So yeah, I'll put him number 2.
Yeah, look, I agree with the Van Dijk name just because you feel like someone in Liverpool needs to win it, considering what they've done is outstanding.
I guess so, right? Yeah.
So to me, Van Dijk is number 3.
I feel like we're all going to agree on number 1 here.
Yeah, I think
I'm not. I'm putting Lewandowski number 2. So yes, I know that's what you're thinking.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I
know that's what you're thinking. Look, and if it's the Ballon d'Or style, he'll still get it because you're both putting him as number 1. I'm guessing. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. You've said it.
So 1-1-2. So if you tally up the votes, you'll have enough votes to the Ballon d'Or.
Come on down, Robert.
To me, number 1 is someone that you guys haven't mentioned, which is De Bruyne.
Kevin
De Bruyne.
De Bruyne, huh?
I would really like you to try to justify that.
To me, he's the best player in the Premier League.
Okay.
He's creative. He scores goals. He gets his team out of bad situations. On the ball, he's a freak. He's a machine. He assists. Assisting wise, he's out of this world. Yeah. I'm not taking anything away. I'm not saying it was a clear winner over Lewandowski. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But in a 2-horse race, it's extremely close. I'm going to edge out De Bruyne because of how magical he's on the ball. It's just a freak.
He's very direct.
I feel like the Ballon d'Or, maybe this is playing bad on Lewandowski, unfortunately, but I feel like the Ballon d'Or's become a who scores the most goals wins it, where it should be like the best player.
The best player.
All right, so I feel like can midfielders win it a bit more? Can defenders win it? Or goalkeepers win it a bit more?
The last one they did, Modric in 2018.
Yeah, so there's the argument of it should be the best player. To me, Lewandowski or De Bruyne, freaking hell, it's hard.
Yeah.
But flipping the coin, I'm going to edge out De Bruyne. That's me.
Look, it's fair enough. I get where you're coming from, and it goes back to the conversation we're just having about Gasparini and not putting him as one of the top managers. Do they have to win trophies to be considered the best player? I don't know.
Yes and no. You have to challenge. You have to be up there. You can't play for Aston Villa and be the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what was the point differential between Liverpool and Man City?
It would have been about 18 or.
There's a big.
So that really hurts.
Double digits.
I gotta say that really hurts him in my eyes.
And then they won the Carabao Cup. That's about it.
Though I was thinking about last year's Ballon d'Or when Messi won it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you guys have thought about Alisson winning it?
Yeah, why not?
He was the best goalkeeper in Champions League, probably the best goalkeeper in Premier League.
And he won the Copa America as well.
Copa America.
Was Van Dijk second?
I'm not sure. I think Van Dijk was second.
Yeah.
And everyone thought Van Dijk should have won it. Then a lot, people who thought Messi should have won it. Doesn't matter. But I would have loved to have seen him. I don't know if he was voted goalkeeper of the tournament for all of these major competitions. But I do know that he was the best or thereabouts in the Premier League, European Cup, and Copa America.
No, he should have been
2 out of the 3 he won.
He should have been in the discussion.
He should have been.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have seen a goalkeeper win it. It's been so long since. Who was the last goalkeeper to win it?
The
Ballon d'Or.
Oliver Kahn?
He won the World Cup Golden Ball.
Yeah, that was when they didn't have he won the World Cup. Was it Dinozov?
Would it be that far back?
It
was a long time ago.
Well, back then, the Ballon d'Or wasn't given to...
It wasn't even really...
It was only given to European players.
Yeah, well, true. But so that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it wasn't Lev Yashin.
Was it Lev Yashin?
It was a while ago.
Look, anyway, regardless, I think it's telling that I feel like the Ballon d'Or, any award we could talk about, the Premier League's awards, whatever, have really become the offensive player of the year award.
Well, the last defensive player, not goalkeeper, defensive, I remember, was Cannavaro.
Yeah, in 2006.
Yeah, off the back of that World Cup.
Which I was happy that he won it. I mean, I was supporting France in that final, so I would have liked to have seen France win it. I honestly think Zidane would have become, pushed into the stratosphere as one of the greatest of all time if they won it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd love to see an Italian player, an Italian centre-back win it. It was great to see. And Cannavaro was one of my favourite defenders. Went on to play for Real Madrid, a fantastic player.
Yeah.
Jean-Pierre Papin, was he a striker?
Yes. Yeah, he was the striker for AC Milan in 93-94, Darcy.
Kevin
Yeah.
Keegan.
And Marseille before
Kevin Keegan was Zach. I think it was Zoff or Yashin.
Yashin.
And that's what
63.
63.
That's
man.
too long.
Yeah,
I think Alisson should have been in the conversation for last year.
I agree.
Anyway, this year I would. I see your point about De Bruyne. I love where you're coming from though. What you're trying to say is let's move away from goals and assists. Let's talk about who was the most influential player on the field at any time. Well, back in 2003, Pavel Nedved won the Ballon d'Or. He scored 11 goals in Syria, 8 goals or something. Something unremarkable. Zinedine Zidane, whenever he won the Ballon d'Or, and he won a number of times, right, Adazi?
Yeah, and it wasn't because of the amount of goals he scored.
Yeah, exactly. Or even an amount of assists. He wasn't a prolific player in that way.
But even Ronaldinho, Kaká, they weren't strikers scoring goals.
I think Kaká was prolific.
He was, but he wasn't.
Not in the way we're referring to. No.
Then I think of 2 players that deserved to win it because of their influence. Wesley Sneijder in 2010.
Yeah.
And then what he did with Inter and taking Holland to the World Cup final, and Frank Ribery 2013.
Yeah, that was insane.
Iniesta
in 2010
deserves a mention as well. Schneider or Iniesta in 2010.
Yeah, and neither won it, did they?
Messi won 2010.
It was the dominance of Messi and Ronaldo then.
Yeah.
And it's so. Can I ask you, boys, how important is it that they win? Because for me, I can't get past the fact that if you're the best player on a team, shouldn't your team be the best team in some form? Not necessarily.
You put LeBron in the Knicks and he's still not gonna win MVP, is he?
Well, yeah, true, but I mean, would his record not have to be good to be in the conversation for MVP?
I understand. Look, bottom line is this year's Ballon d'Or is given to Lewandowski, so I'll get in touch with him and mail out.
We'll mail it by express post.
That comes to the end of the episode. Bit of a different one today. So I know we might get some hate mail saying, you guys are football retro. Why are you talking about modern football?
That's because football now is still football from the
They
past.
did mention a couple of retro things.
Football is football.
So yeah, we did discuss the last 12 months. With everything that's going on in regards to COVID and stuff, it's a big game changer for the sport.
Yeah,
so
no,
we thought we'll
I think
focus on.
There was a good conversation as well. Like, it's fun to talk about something that's also just recently happened.
Yeah.
If anyone disagrees as well, we would have preferred De Bruyne to get Ballon d'Or, or you Liverpool fans, if you'd like to see Van Dijk have got it, let us know what your thoughts about that was.
Yeah, just drop us a comment, like.
Yeah, guys, send us a message if you want to get involved with the show. Let us know if you disagree or any topics that you want us to discuss. Let us know. Thanks for everything once again, and see you next time.